gals. Let's switch gears real quick, and I want to jump into this next part of the show. Diana Rossini with the tweet. Now, you guys know Jeff Hafley has already been linked to the New York Giants job, right? There's rumors that the New York Giants are looking to potentially hire Jeff Hafley, or at least put him in the interview process. Obviously, Hafley, if I remember correctly, is from the Northeast up there in that area, so he would be returning closer to home. Doesn't matter where the team's located. A, if Hafley gets a head coaching offer, right? B, obviously it's going to be more money. Then it doesn't really matter where he's going. He's probably going to take that job unless the Packers up his pay to stay a coordinator, i.e. less responsibilities, but more pay. You could go that route as well. And if there's a defensive coordinator in the league that's worth it, other than Vance Joseph, Jeff Hafley's probably at the top of my list, right? So, again, Vance Joseph will be looking for a head coaching job as well. Now, this is where things are starting to really heat up. Diana Rossini put a tweet out. Sources say the Titans are expected to reach out to Lou Anarumo, I think is how you say the name, Jeff Hafley, Matt Burke, and Jesse Minter regarding their head coaching vacancy. If I remember correctly, Jesse Minter was a part of the coaching staff in Michigan, I believe, when they won the national title. Boy, that program been flipped upside down. That's a story for another show. Internally, Matt Nagy is also viewed as a serious candidate. More names I'm hearing. Obviously, they have more names there in the article. So, again, the top names mentioned are Lou Anarumo, Jeff Hafley, Matt Burke, and Jesse Minter. If you were to look at all four of those and go, all right, which one would you choose out of those four? Now, I know we have a biased opinion because we see Jeff Hafley's defense on a weekly basis. The one that sticks out to me the most right there is Jeff Hafley, unfortunately, right? So, again, now you've got the Giants linked to him. You've got the Titans that are potentially linked to him. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens with Jeff Hafley. Now, again, why do teams want Jeff Hafley? Listen to these rankings, guys. This is where Jeff Hafley's defense ranks this year. All right. Scoring, defensive scoring, opponent points per play. Green Bay is currently ranked 6th in the league. All right. What about yards per play? Overall yardage, right? Every time the offense runs a play, how many yards do they average when they run a play? Okay. The Packers are 5th at only 4.8 yards per play. The teams ahead of them are tied for second are Houston, Seattle, Cleveland at 4.7, and then Denver is sitting at 4.6. Okay. So again, you've got the 6th best scoring defense. You got the 5th best overall total defense. Now, in terms of stopping the pass, sometimes you find yourself in the top 5, top 10 of scoring defense, and you think, okay, that's great and all, you're keeping them out of the end zone. That's the number one goal, but they might be a little weaker at covering the pass as opposed to playing the run, or vice versa. Well, in this case with Jeff Hafley, scoring defense checks out, the total yardage, yards per play checks out, and then you go down and look at the opponent yards per pass attempt. So the passing defense rankings, Green Bay is sitting 5th at 5.9. They're only behind the Chargers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, and the Houston Texans. And then, of course, running the ball, right? You got to stop the run at the National Football League level. This is what Jeff Hafley's defense has been so good at. And they were really good last year as well. One of the top 3, if I remember correctly, is how they finished the year. We are tied for 3rd in rush defense with 3.8 yards per carry, okay, allowed. So, again, 6th, 5th, 3rd. Yeah, tied for 3rd. Everything. If you're looking for a defensive-minded head coach, and you're going across the league, you're checking all the boxes with Jeff Hafley, unfortunately. So let's hope he stays put. And here's the other thing, just to give a little bit of hope here for Packer fans, obviously. If a team does offer him the head coaching job, right, you would think, okay, he's probably going to take it. However, remember last year, Ben Johnson decided to stay in Detroit one more year. So there's a chance that could happen as well. There's also a chance that another highly touted coach could become available, right? That someone would want to potentially hire as their head coach as well. I personally lean toward offensive-minded coaches as head coaches. That's just my opinion. I mean, you look at the great coaches here recently, you've got them. They're either a well-rounded coach like Belichick has coached every phase of the game. You can pull up footage of him and Tom Brady putting together an offensive game plan together during the week, and they're running New England. So you kind of throw that. People like to consider him just a defensive coach because he was a great defensive coordinator with the New York Giants back in the day. But he started off in special teams, he coached defense, and he had his fingerprint all over that New England entire organization. So he's more of a well-rounded coach, right? You think of Andy Reid, who's got a ton of Super Bowl rings right now. What is he? An offensive-minded coach, right? He's a guy that came up through Mike Holmgren's system, former tight end coach, all that stuff, right? Goes to Philadelphia, has some success, couldn't get over the hump, goes to Kansas City, and now he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. So again, another offensive-minded coach. You just look at those coaches here recently, and to me, the offensive coaches stick out far more than the defensive coaches, right? Like Sean McVay. I mean, was he the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl, I believe, if I remember correctly? He was definitely the youngest coach to make 2 Super Bowls. So I think he was the youngest to win one. He's kind of the golden child, right? And now he's got arguably one of the best teams in the league. I know Seattle upset him the other night with the come from behind victory, but in overtime there. But again, offensive-minded coach that's just absolutely dominating, right? If you just look at some of the top teams in the league in terms of, let's just say, if we were to go to our power rankings, if I were to pull it up real quick and just kind of talk about, all right, in terms of our power rankings, where do these teams sit right now? If we sort by overall value, the LA Rams, right? That's Sean McVay, offensive coach. The Seattle Seahawks is, what's his name? McDonald. He's a defensive coach, right? So keep that in mind. New England, you've got our boy, it's evading me right now. Mike Vrabel, defensive-minded coach. So there's 2 of the top. Green Bay is in the number 4 spot with an 8.2 score, tied with Indianapolis. Matt LaFleur, offensive-minded coach. So now it's 2-2, right? Indianapolis, Shane Steichen. They're sitting at an 8.2 on our power rankings. I know the 13th in winning percentage, but across the board, I do feel like they're a much better team. Obviously, you lose your starting quarterback, things change. But again, how did Indianapolis turn around the season so quick? It's because of Daniel Jones and that offense was really clicking, right? They've still got the 4th best scoring offense in the league right now and the 3rd best in terms of yards per play. So again, offensive-minded coach. So now it's 3-2. Jacksonville, Leon Cohen, Duval. Man, we made so much fun of him. He's dominating, right? That's the 6th best team on our power ranking system. Leon Cohen, former offensive coordinator from the Sean McVay coaching tree, right? He spent some time in Kentucky for a little bit, came back to the pros. They're off and running. So now what is it? 4-2. Denver, Sean Payton. He's in the number 7 spot, right? Got the best winning percentage in the league. There's 5-2 now, offensive-minded coaches. Detroit, that's our boy Dan Campbell, former tight end, former tight ends coach. Obviously, he's calling the plays on offense in Detroit, offensive-minded coach. That's 6-2. Houston is DeMeco Ryans in the number 9 spot there, defensive coach. So now it's 6-3. And then Philadelphia, you've got our boy Nick Sirianni, one of the most underrated coaches, I think, in the league right now, to be honest with you. Got a Super Bowl ring, offensive-minded coach. Although he don't call the plays, he was a former play caller, I believe, in Indianapolis, if I remember correctly. So you're talking about, so is that 7-3? 7-3, the top 10 teams in our PTA power rankings are offensive-minded coaches. So again, if it were me doing a coaching hire, I would not hire a defensive coordinator as the head coach. That's just me personally. However, we've seen it time and time again. These owners do like defensive-minded coaches as their head coach. So to me, that gives me a little bit of hope that, okay, 2 things. Maybe he goes the Ben Johnson approach and decides to stick around in Green Bay one more year if he does get offered a head coaching job. Now, if it's somewhere that's a dream job for him, maybe that's the Giants. Maybe that's whoever, right, to get closer to home up north in the Northeast. That would, I can understand that. But maybe he says he goes the Ben Johnson approach and stays with the Packers, or maybe, maybe the Packers give him a little bit more money, make it a little more enticing, or these teams interview everyone and go, you know what, we want to go the offensive route. That could be the case as well. So I'm excited to see how everything unfolds. You're probably wondering, Clayton, we got a game tonight. Why are we talking about offseason coaching changes? Why are we talking about Micah Parsons' injury status for next year? Because it's Packers Total Access. Why do we call it that? We don't want to look at it from just a fan's perspective. We try to look at it through the eyes, through the lens of the organization. These are the questions. You can bet your sweet ass that this organization, Ed Policy, even Matt LaFleur, they're having conversations with Jeff Hafley because, I guarantee you they know firsthand, all right, these teams are interested in Haf. Their gears are already turning. Who's going to be the replacement for Hafley? Is it going to be Derek Ansley from within the building? Is it going to be Coach Covington from within the building? Do you keep those guys in place and go outside of the building and get a DC? Well, here's the problem. If Hafley does leave, what happens? Hafley probably takes a good chunk of his staff with him, meaning he would take whoever the Packers did not promote the DC, he'd probably take the other one, whether it's Coach Covington or it's Derek Ansley. He would take one of those guys as his DC, most likely, right? Now, and it doesn't stop there. Throughout the assistant room, what happens? Well, now you go and get the whatever. Coach Covington's a defensive line coach, right? Or, and I don't even know his exact title. He may be like run coordinator or what have you. Let's say he's only a defensive line coach. Well, you can give him a what do we call it? You're actually going to give him a promotion. It's not a lateral move if you promote him to run game coordinator if he doesn't already have that title at his new stop. So you can hire him as your defensive line coach, run game coordinator, right? So there's a lot of little things that come into play. The moral of the story is we're talking about this stuff now because it's going to hit quick as soon as the season's over. And we want to go ahead and start planting that seed on everybody here in the chat and everybody that watches the show and listens on the podcast form that these are the things that we're going to be watching as soon as the season's over. As soon as the Packers hoist that Lombardi. At least that's what we hope, right? So anyway, that's it, guys. Wanted to give you guys a quick, no, Greg, we're not doing a mock draft, sir. I just want to give you guys a quick episode here. I had a few minutes. I'm glad the internet held on here for us. Wanted to give you an update on Micah Parsons. That's great news. And then, of course, just to keep you guys informed that Jeff Hafley, the coaching search there, and Jeff Hafley, the interest in other teams potentially hiring him is really heating up. We want to hear from you guys in the comments. Let us know how you feel about both Micah Parsons and the Jeff Hafley situation, okay? Make sure you put in the comments how you feel about that, and maybe a replacement if Jeff Hafley does take that job. Maybe you don't hire from within. Maybe he does kind of strip the defensive coaching staff down, and you've got somebody else in mind that you would go get. So let us know in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live. Like tonight, 6 p.m. Central, we're going live for the PTA pregame show. We'll show you live shots from Soldier Field. We'll get you amped up. We'll show you the actives, inactives, just a little pregame conversation, about an hour long. We'll take you right up to kickoff, and then we'll be off and running. So everybody, make sure you hit that like button, click subscribe, click the bell icon. We'll see you guys tonight for the PTA pregame show. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go.
We're out.
Bye, guys.